So here we go. Shahid, hello and welcome. Good to see you again.
Good morning and wishing you a happy 2021.
Yes, likewise. I can't believe the year has gone. 2020 went by so fast.
Yes,
Um, so,
definitely.
I guess my first question is, do you actually, excuse me, do you remember the first time we actually met?
Yes. So it was in year 2016 probably. And I was doing blockchain in Greater China, which is China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan region. And I came to New Zealand as a part of my process to relocate. And you were the first person I met connected to blockchain in New Zealand, probably in Wellington,
Yes, exactly.
right?
Such a long time ago. Through, I think, was it Sandy, who also worked at IBM?
And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you still
At
keep
that
in
time, we
touch with
were
Sandy?
trying to create. Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. So, what led to your relocation from China and Asia to New Zealand?
So obviously, multiple factors, but one of them was the environment, the weather, the pollution, lack of pollution, and those kind of stuff. And uh, just wanted to be closer to nature. I have been in India, China, Singapore, traveling all across the world in my career, and this seemed to be a nice place to be closer to nature compared to the other experiences. So
Wow.
that
Okay.
brought me to New Zealand.
So you specifically picked out New Zealand to relocate.
Exactly.
Ah. Where were you before, like China? Were you in other countries, as you mentioned?
So I'm basically from India, and I started with IBM. My journey started more than almost now 16 years ago, long time
Wow.
with IBM. And I used to work in various cities within India. I have been to New Delhi, Bangalore, then there is a location near Mumbai called Pune. So that's how my career has been. So the good part is if you go into niche technology and you have the right kind of solutions for customers, with IBM you can have multiple global experiences. So that's how I moved around in India, then China, then Singapore, and came here.
Wow. Very nice. A very rich experience around Asia.
Yeah, yeah.
So then, on that note, then, I mean, you said you moved into the blockchain area. What were you doing before blockchain at IBM?
I was so IBM at that point had a partnership, a global alliance with Apple, and we were coming up with industry use cases and enterprise mobility solutions. And I was managing the mobile practice within IBM in China. That was one of my major roles out there.
Yeah.
And the connection to blockchain happened because I used to provide services to quite a few banking clients. And and surprisingly, I don't know why, but I have a habit of reading a lot about uh, technology and various broad stuff. Uh, just to give you my background, I try to read like things on history, politics, even philosophy. So sometimes I got in those kind of readings, I got exposed to this cryptocurrency kind of a paper by Satoshi, and then I said, okay, this has, and I started following up various blogs, and that's how, being a part of mobile job, I also started thinking about how blockchain could impact enterprise clients. I was mainly towards thinking, how do I use the benefits of blockchain, like immutable chains or traceability and all those kind of benefits. How do I use that to benefit a business process of a client? So that's how my journey to blockchain started, probably from early 2016.
Very nice. So it started off in China with your interest of reading that got your attention. And then did you, how did you make the jump into convincing IBM to give you a position around blockchain?
So, two things. One is I was focused on banking, had a lot of deep industry experience that may mattered a lot. And second is IBM already had a focus in the research labs of IBM around blockchain and how it could benefit. So IBM was supporting the global initiative called Hyperledger, and there was a active Hyperledger community within IBM. I got connected to them, and then proactively went out to customers and opened up the thought about a basic stuff, digitizing the process. It is not blockchain necessarily. Start with that, and then look into how do I build a network. So that's how I got that role. Do
Very
it, show
nice.
it. Clients like it. The company also likes it.
Ah, so you're very proactive, kind of like making your own pathway, so to speak.
Exactly. I did that especially for the blockchain part.
Oh, very nice. Because I think a few years ago, I was contacted by the IBM team in Singapore. They reached out for some opportunities. There's quite a big, or I think in Singapore, you probably know the team there as well. In Singapore, there's
I
a,
know them.
yeah, and they service all of Asia. Oh, very nice.
And we used to, in the initial days, we used to call it the blockchain garage. And probably that's where the whole Asia Pacific team was there in the IBM Singapore studios. Those are the guys who might have reached out to you.
Got it. Got it. Actually, do you know Nitin? Is it Nitin Guar?
Igor,
Yeah, so I actually met him in Singapore last year at the um, Singapore FinTech Festival because IBM was there as part of
hmm.
the blockchain showcase, and he was there with the Singapore team as well. So it was very good to because I think he
Nitin
leads.
actually came to Auckland almost a year and a half ago.
Ah, I think he leads blockchain in IBM. Is that right?
So he has done multiple roles. He was part of the IBM blockchain labs. Nowadays, I think he's mainly focused on digital assets and the kind of thought leadership part of IBM in
Got
blockchain
it.
space.
Got it. Wow. Oh, now turning back to your particular role now, what do you do at IBM in New Zealand specifically?
So I have almost multiple layers. So number one is I primarily focus on financial sector in New Zealand, which is like banks, insurers, uh, and the financial regulators. That's my focus from a industry perspective, and uh, and from a blockchain side, I have worked with at least a couple of banks. One of the banks, primarily, we did quite a significant progress in terms of proof of concept and introducing the Hyperledger platform and how do you basic stuff in smart contracts, etc. So and have been kind of evangelizing blockchain in various industry associations. Like I went to a meet industry association, explain how blockchain could help. Obviously, working with you all in blockchain New Zealand, and right now my passion is about uh, digital money. The how do I uh, enable corporates to use the digital money concepts that are coming out? As you might know, the digital yuan from China was introduced few days ago, and I would say it's not beat and everything is there, but I would say those are the kind of things that would be interesting for clients, especially in New Zealand. And so that's my job actually.
Nice. I'm actually interested to hear your comparison of your experience between the blockchain um, uh, the blockchain economy, I guess, or the environment in New Zealand compared to the likes of Asia? Because from my perspective, Asia, and as you mentioned, China, seems to be so far advanced. They are just ready to grasp the opportunity. How have you found New Zealand, especially the uptake with new technologies?
I see a very that's an interesting question. I see a lot of startups in New Zealand. So as the reason I met you almost 3.5, 4 years ago was because there was a very active network in the blockchain and crypto space, and people wanted to understand, think about the distributed organizations and all those kind of stuff. So I see a lot of passion in that area within the New Zealand market, but I also see that the corporates, the big companies need to also look into building up an ecosystem which includes their competition at some point also, and then you need to scale up and expand. So probably a bit of regulation, a bit of government, a bit of more business orientation could really scale up blockchain in New Zealand, especially the relevance is post COVID and after like 8, 9 months of globally the physical connect has gone away. How do I think of doing business or scaling up business, reducing my business friction? And New Zealand is probably in the right space now, I would say.
Nice. Okay. What's been the response or the adoption from your perspective around, I guess, blockchain and in particular Hyperledger? I mean, are there a lot of other competitions or competitors around as well?
I think I might be not be doing justice to all the people. So I don't want to tell there is only Ethereum and Hyperledger. But I feel that now, as you would also know, 3, 4 years ago, people or clients were asking, or including enthusiasts like you and I, does it work? How does it work? How to make it happen? But now with like hundreds or thousands of POCs and startups and success stories in the world and in the region, I don't think the technology is in doubt. Now, probably we are moving beyond technology towards a business solution. I always thought this was a business uh, problem to solve rather than trying to force fit a new technology. So, and I think it doesn't matter now. Is it Ethereum? Is it R3? Is it Hyperledger? Probably we'll end up with all of them collaborating to find a solution. That's what I'm seeing in few of the global business cases also.
That's a very good point, actually, because I think a year and a half ago when I was in South Korea training on Ethereum at that instance, before we came in, they were evaluating Hyperledger as well and built proof of concepts. So a lot of the big companies are not just dedicating their resources to one blockchain, but experimenting with several blockchains. And I think the point you make about that it's not the technology is actually really important because as we both know, technology is just an enabler to solve business problems. And a lot of the geeks focus on the technology, which is fun and amazing. But you're right; it's what problem can you solve? And when you're using, the customers don't really care what happens; they just want the website to work or their data to work, right?
And I think I would like to take a cue from that last statement of yours. Uh, Blockchain creates trust. There is no doubt about it. People may say multiple stuff. Is it a overhyped technology? All those days are behind us. In IBM, we used to say Now the days of the blockchain tourism are behind us. You don't need to try to play around and be a tourist. So I think trust is there in blockchain because the parties who are part of the blockchain network do trust the data. And when you have trusted information, trusted data, you can really make use of it to scale up your business or hyperscale your business. And I think that's where you will see a lot of successful business cases like trade finance in the banking area, or the best is for New Zealand supply chain and logistics, because we are an export driven or country, like meat, agri products, and I think that could be really something that could scale up in New Zealand.
I must say, the IBM website with the blockchain use cases is actually very useful and neatly
Yes.
presented. Um, Although a lot of it might be marketing, some may say it's actually very well laid out. So I do quite often make reference to the IBM website.
Huh. Thanks.
Um, so turning from IBM now to the Blockchain NZ Council, how did you find yourself on the executive council?
So I got I have always been part of the blockchain NZ from a perspective of a practitioner. So if you would remember a few of the meetups, I have been presenting on various topics connected to blockchain. So when the opportunity came about and said, "Hey, would you like to nominate yourself for the exec council?" So I put in my nomination, and it seems there is a formal process the blockchain NZ council goes through. They have, or they ask for nominations, then some voting or election, something happens, and finally I landed up with blockchain NZ exec council. So really happy about it. I know it has been difficult since the lockdowns and other stuff, but I do see this kind of digital collaboration becoming better and better, and we'll do some cool stuff in New Zealand with the exec council.
I see. What do you see your role at the council, in fact?
So my short interpretation is to help with information that I gather based on my awareness of the blockchain world, get information from the other members of the exec council. So one is knowledge sharing, the other is teaming in terms of how do I collaborate with other members of the exec council and also the extended blockchain NZ membership to come up with some solutions for business problems and make it real in New Zealand. I would say my passion for the blockchain NZ council is how do I make few of the use cases real, especially after this COVID world and everybody trying to uh, think about the new business digital transformation, everybody trying to think about governments trying to think about vaccination drive and how do I manage it. All these are sweet spots for blockchain.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Vaccinations in a very interesting topic around the
Exactly.
virus, which is another rabbit hole, actually. um, so, with that, how is this year looking? I think for blockchain. I mean, because obviously we've seen the last couple of years with blockchains, use cases, education, even the price being very low, and then I'm sure it's on everyone's mind that the price of Bitcoin has dramatically increased. What does this year hold? Do you see?
I think because of we have been forced as businesses or as countries or individuals to go digital, right? When
Mm,
I came in New Zealand, there were a lot of processes or businesses which said, what is the driver for me to change? because you used a combination of digital and uh, the traditional way. Now, when you think about banks or insurers or even supply chain organizations or exporters, they have been forced to go into the digital medium.
Mm.
That channel is which is giving you the, as a business, the maximum resilience and growth. I would say there is a huge potential for blockchain this year.
Yeah, because it always seems that when people talk about blockchain, um, it's very hard to ignore the price of Bitcoin, even though they're not related. Do you also find yourself when you're talking blockchain that the price of a cryptocurrency creeps into the conversation?
Definitely. And the best part is with this hype, and I think it is about 30,000, whatever. I don't track it every hour, but it's an asset class that's like on an exponential curve. And even though the blockchain solutions may not necessarily be Bitcoins, but that does create a mind share in terms of the decision makers. That this new stuff, something is working, something is out there. Bitcoin is there since 2008 now, and it has been working flawlessly, right? So uh, and that's where the and I also, you should be open. You are also a, I know, a crypto geek or an enthusiast. The point is probably digital assets, the word when I use, you will have a combination of the traditional crypto uh, tokens and a blockchain solution merging. So I'm not saying people will start using bitcoins in their use cases, but crypto tokens might enter in. That's where the digital money comes in. So that's a significant advantage to us. You have a push to become a digital organization. You have a mind share of a Bitcoin, one of the major cryptocurrencies, exponentially increasing. At least let's leverage that to do some cool stuff. That's how I look at it.
That's a good point, actually. And as you mentioned, with the amount of people investing into Bitcoin, for example, it's just further proof of these investors trusting in this network, this blockchain network, which is quite amazing. Um, and also on the point of tokens, as you mentioned, I don't think Hyperledger has a token, an intrinsic token, does it?
Tokenization, as you have this ERC20 in Ethereum, I'm not saying the same standard is there in Hyperledger, but the Fabric version 2.0 has been released in this year, sorry, in 2020 now.
Yeah.
And there is a possibility of writing chain code in a way that you can do tokenization. And as I said earlier, it depends on your business case and how you want to take your architecture decisions. We could use a combination of uh, digital token facility available in some other network, and also using the Hyperledger Fabric 2.0. So that should be way ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was super interesting to hear your background and your involvement with bitcoins and blockchains, and a sneak peek into the future as well. So, thank you so much for your time. It's been totally fascinating, and I'll catch up with you, I guess, next time I see you.
Thank you.